How's it going, everyone? It is Wednesday, November 9th, and after like a month of health issues where I knocked myself silly, I gave myself a concussion on that little doorway, which is like 4 feet. But I came up, cracked my head. So after a month of dealing with that and other issues, we're back with Full Press Hockey Weekly here on Full Press Coverage. Mike Straw, Jim Behringer. Jim, how are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Hockey season's back. Lots of stuff to discuss, but I'm doing good. Trying to avoid getting concussions and sick, and just trying to enjoy the last bits of what we call daylight left as we switch the clocks back.
Yeah, I never like it. I'm so happy that it seems like when we push him forward next year, we'll be just stay that way, so
Yeah.
we can have a little bit of daylight. Also, it was really weird at the fact this past Saturday in Buffalo, New York, in where it's only snow and cold. It was 80 degrees,
Yeah, how
and
crazy was that?
tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 70s, and then now we're getting into winter weather in mid-November after that. But I'm like, you know what, I'll take the extra month and a half of beautiful warm weather because it allowed me to be outside more, which is a win and a half. But I'm just prepped for whatever hellhole we're going to get hit with. I mean, you're in the same boat in the Northeast, so you're going to get hit with something too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something's coming our way. I mean, hopefully, everybody down in Florida got out of town. Or if you did stay in town, bunker down because another hurricane's coming through and we'll get the mess up here. But yeah, like you said, man, last Saturday, Sunday, it was like 70, 75 degrees out, sunny. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to enjoy every minute of it because usually it's cold by now.
And if this is your first time tuning in, you're noticing the new time. We talked about a lot. We've bounced around times over the last year and a half, trying to figure out a nice spot. And this might be it, kind of like a pregame type of listen for those who tune in live, just because during the off season, it's one thing. Once hockey season starts, no one's going to listen to a live hockey show while there's hockey on.
Even
Hell,
even even us, we get distracted when we have the
we
games
didn't even
on.
want to watch hockey show on it. I got to the point where I had to turn my TV off because I'd just be like,
Yeah, yeah. People be like, "Yo, what are you guys doing? Where are you looking at?" I'll be like, "I'm watching a
don't worry
hockey
about it.
game and I'm talking about hockey at the same time." But no, I like this time slot, little pregame to the pregame. Nice Wednesday night, not too much going on, not too many games, so we can get through a lot more stuff than we would if it was a Tuesday when it's always jam packed.
100%. And speaking of jam packed, we have a jam packed show today because we haven't been around in a while. So there's a lot to talk about. Teams doing really well early on, teams doing piss poor early on, and the NHL and hockey in general having a major problem. And that is what we'll talk about in more detail in a few minutes. But I'm going to start the show off by eating a little bit of crow. I still believe in my heart of hearts that is the worst organization in hockey based on coaching and management. But what Seattle has done to start this season at 8-4-2, second place in the division behind Vegas, they are second in the West, and they are overall fifth in the league. I have to give them a lot of credit. They are playing really well. I'm going to say in spite of their coach, because it still seems like he makes ding-dong decisions when they are losing games, which isn't much, obviously. But when they are losing, they have still lost 6 games total. But when they are losing, he's still failing. But when they're winning, like when this team is clicking, they are clicking. And a lot of that with Seattle, the play of Andrei Burakovsky has been incredible. Jordan Eberle continues to have this fountain of youth thing somehow, some way. And then Matty Beniers, who we all expected to do good things, has done really good things. 9 points in 14 games, I believe it is. And he looks like he belongs. And he looks like I'm not going to say it's all him, but it looks like watching Seattle play, he sparked this forward group that kind of was like, we really were like, where Vegas had that we were castaways, but they were really good castaways, let's be real. Seattle chose the castaways. And Beniers comes in, and now they look like they're motivated to play. Brandon Tanev, he is the Energizer Bunny that makes that organization go. Both on and off the ice, he is the face of that team for what he did while he was out injured last year in like a community outreach and fan outreach type of role. And now on the ice, I mean, he's putting up points too, 9 points in 14 games. He just looks like he is like the heart of that team, and they're gonna go not as he goes, but he's gonna be a big like motivating factor. And then somehow Martin Jones has played. I don't know what is going on with Martin Jones. He's got like that random when he had those random runs with San Jose. I don't know. I don't expect Martin Jones to last. If they're going to continue, Phil Grubauer has to get healthy and he has to play a lot better when he is healthy, because Martin Jones is not that guy to go a full season anymore. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'll give credit where credit's due. They are playing really well, and they're in a position right now that no one expected them to be in.
No, I mean, totally agree. I mean, you and I and Chris, when we were talking about this last year, how many times we go into Ron Francis, Dave Hackstall, what they did, how they drafted. It was an embarrassment last year. What did they finish with? Like 61 points. I mean, with all the accessories and the rules in favor of them in the expansion draft, to pick the guys that they did just didn't make sense. I mean, sometimes they just couldn't muster any goals. And this year they're finally scoring goals, balanced lineup. To me, I mean, two guys that really have impacted this roster: Andre Burakovsky up top, along with Oliver Bjorkstrand. Yeah, it may not show up on a score sheet with only one goal, but I think he's given them depth down the middle, something that they've definitely needed. And I like what they bring. Matty Beniers just fitting in right there. Jaden Schwartz. And you mentioned Jordan Eberle. I mean, guy's a goal scorer. That's what he did on the island. The Islanders could use him, even though they're winning right now. And on the back end, I mean, they're just playing rock solid defense right now. And you know what? No lead is too small for them to come back. I mean, they came back twice against Pittsburgh, beat the Penguins twice. Martin Jones, as you said, is finding the fountain of youth, because I don't think anybody expected Marty Jones to be doing what he's doing. A lot of
No, we
people
expected goaltending to be a big reason why they would be at the bottom of the league. And right now, I mean, again, it's early.
Right.
It's November, the second week of November. But yeah, like it's been impressive.
Very impressive. And you know what? We'll see where this team goes. Second in the division, fifth in the. Who would have thought two expansion teams be that high in the Western Conference in the division as well? I mean, probably haven't seen that forever. Most of the time, expansion teams struggle. I mean, I know San Jose was really good out the gate. So it's nice to see Seattle turning it around, because you want them to be good. Got great jerseys, great colors, and everything, but you want the product on the ice to be good, because you don't want fans all of a sudden to be turned off by a bad product and then not
Agreed.
show up. So
Atlanta.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Atlanta, Arizona, we know what's going on down there. Though I will say it's cool to see them in that little arena, but it's 5,000
I can't
seats.
even say it's cool. It pisses me off more than
Yeah.
I could do a whole show on that.
Yeah, we probably could do a whole show on that, but it's good to see the Kraken turning it around. Let's see if they can stay up there, because obviously they're taking advantage of the Oilers' struggles, the Calgary struggles right now. LA didn't get off to a great start, but LA's hanging in that division. Obviously, the weaker teams in there, Anaheim, San Jose, as well. So they're taking advantage of some weaker competition right now in that division.
You talk about Edmonton struggles. I mean, who would have thought that giving Jack Campbell that contract wouldn't work out?
Everybody,
very early in the season, but yeah, it that hasn't looked well. Vegas is a team. When I did my preview show here, they were a team that I said I didn't think was going to make the playoffs, because I didn't think the goaltending can handle it. I felt if Jack Eichel, I did say this team was going to go as Jack Eichel goes, and Jack Eichel is playing at the MVP level we saw him play in Buffalo before that injury. They played Toronto last night on Monday night, or Tuesday night, and it was super impressive to see him continue to own the Maple Leafs as he has since 2015. Death taxes Jack Eichel owning Toronto whenever he plays Toronto is something like I'll never get tired of seeing. Even though I like the Leafs, watching Jack Eichel he just seems to put on this next level gear when he plays Toronto. And then he's got Buffalo coming up tomorrow night, which is going to be an incredible environment tomorrow. But the Golden Knights, I didn't expect them to be in this position at 12-2, 8 straight wins because of I didn't trust their goaltending. And my God, has Logan Thompson stepped up in a major way. And he is bailing out the terrible decisions that organization made with goaltending, because no one thought he'd be ready at this point to take the reins. I still don't know if he's ready for the full season, but the litmus test going on right now and just the small sample work shows no, he's ready to be the guy, kind of like Jake Ottinger when we saw him in Dallas in the playoffs last year, and he's standing on his head even though they lose the series. He's standing on his head, and you're like, okay, he's showing things where he's the guy, and he's continued that so far for Dallas this year. Logan Thompson is kind of just doing that too. He's just continuing to play well and play at the top of his game. And anytime Vegas needs a big save, he has made those saves.
Yeah, I mean, look, I gotta love what Logan Thompson's doing. You know, a lot of people were unsure, myself included, with this goaltending, but maybe we shouldn't come as a shock because Logan Thompson almost put the Golden Knights in the playoffs last year when he came in for the injured Robin Leonard as well. And
Yep.
it wasn't Thompson's fault they didn't make the playoffs last year. It's just, salary cap, guys were injured. Eichel's not 100% healthy. Stone wasn't healthy. Guys were just not producing in the way they were. New voice in the room. And let's give it up for Bruce Cassidy. I mean, he gets fired in Boston, comes over to Vegas. They get their guy. He's fixed the power play. They look good defensively. They're playing they're playing better right now than they have in their previous years. Like even going back to their inaugural season in the league, that's how good they look. They look like the best team in the Western Conference, a Stanley Cup contender. And let's not forget about what Aiden Hill's done as a backup. I mean, this guy's undefeated. He's looked really good coming over from San Jose. I mean, they have a big choice to make.
Sharks fans are like, really?
Yeah. They're like, what? They're like, come on, man. But they have a big decision to make coming up this offseason, and when Robin Leonard gets healthy, do you try to just ride with these two guys going into the next year because of what the salary cap is, or do you go with Thompson and Leonard? I mean, they're gonna have a decision to make with Robin Leonard because of his salary cap being at $5 million, and he's coming off double hip surgery.
Double hip surgery, $5 million, 2 more years of it. And then you got Logan. But the one thing that allows you to eat it is the fact those 2 years of Leonard, you also have Thompson for 2 years at an entry level $760,000 contract. So it makes it a lot easier to swallow if your number one goalie's on that contract. But your number one goalie at that point, if Logan Thompson is continuing this trajectory, you have a $7-8 million goalie in his next contract easily. So, but it also, again, at that point in time, Leonard's going to be off the books. So,
but still, you gotta wonder, like, do they try to maybe stay with Hill? I know he's probably gonna get a bump up from what he makes now, but if Thompson's gonna continue to do this, why pay your backup $5 million to be the backup? And now again, you have a similar issue which you had, like you said, though. Thompson's still on his entry level deal, but you're gonna have to pay other guys up front where maybe Leonard's money can come into play to bolster your forward group.
Yeah, and I mean I guess the good thing is Vegas right now, contractually, they don't have much in the way next year of UFAs or RFAs. They got Phil Kessel and Aiden Hill as their UFAs.
Yeah.
And then so it's not really a concern. There's still the team that's most cash strapped in the league right now. According to Cap Friendly, and so they'll have decisions to make, but I don't think it's going to be. But that's going to be what they do. It's going to be more along the lines of, do we want to pay this guy that much to be our backup, as opposed to, oh my God, we have to move on because money. Unless something happens and somebody's got to get shipped out. But as things right now, they're rolling. They look dominant like they have in the past. Jack Eichel is performing at an incredible level. He looked early in the season, he looked so disinterested. And it was really funny to watch, but also frustrating. There are like multiple instances where in his own zone, he just went full on the controller disconnected and he just stopped, just completely stopped. And then something clicked like 3 or 4 games into the season. And now Vegas is on an 8 game tear and he's over a point per game on the year. And so he's found his groove. That entire team has kind of found their groove. And it's impressive to see. Another team that's impressive to see, and it's a team I think they're near and dear to your heart.
I hope so. I hope that's the team we're going to talk about.
I can't tell. And I felt when I was doing my preview, I remember like we don't get a lot of comments on this show.
Right.
But I got a lot of I did get a number of comments on Twitter and whatnot asking why I was so high on them. And the New Jersey Devils are sitting here trying to prove me right and prove me a damn genius at 10-3, winners of 7 straight, first in the Metro. I said they were going to be a wild card team because that's just where I saw that natural gradual next step. Then they started the season where they looked completely lost. We thought Lindy Ruff was going to be shit canned because it looked like how it looked when he got fired from Buffalo in 2012, like the team just tuning him out. Now all of a sudden, this team can do no wrong, and they're coming back from games. They're holding on to leads. They're doing things that under Lindy Ruff they had never done before. And I'm going to let you take the floor because I already kind of was hoping I'd see this from the Devils. But you are around that team way more. So I'm going to let you take the floor on what you've seen from the Devils that have impressed you the absolute most.
The mentality change in this team is way, way different. The attitude coming into the season, the leadership, especially Nico Hischier. I mean, he's on a 5 game tear right now with points, 5 game point streak. I mean, Jesper Bratt's taking his game to the next level. He opened the season with an 11 game heater to set the Devil franchise record to open the season, passing Tim Higgins for most of franchise history. He bet on himself for the 1 year deal, and he looks like he's going to get paid this summer from New Jersey. But I like what Tom Fitzgerald did, brought in guys, strengthened areas, even though there was a strength already defense. You bring in a guy like John Marino from Pittsburgh, you strengthen your defense, you got a shutdown guy, your top 6 looks good. Your forwards are playing great. I mean, it stinks that Andre Palat gets groin surgery out 8 to 10 weeks. He was starting to feel his game after a little bit. But what the Devils are doing, bringing in Zetterlund, he's been developed down in the AHL. But again, it goes back to mentality and setting the tone early in training camp and saying, why not us? We're sick of losing. We're tired of losing. We want to play meaningful games. They've talked about it for how many years after in April when the playoffs start, they're cleaning out lockers. We don't want to be here anymore. Severson said it. Then after the first game, Miles Wood, sucks losing. Don't want to lose anymore. Tired of this feeling. Great. Tom Fitzgerald has come out and said he loves his players speaking with emotion. Character wins make a team and build a team and bond a team. You're down 3-1 to Edmonton last week. Come back and win. Up 3-1 to Calgary. You lose the lead, but you win in overtime. They're finding different ways to win hockey games. And you're banking points right now because it's only going to get tougher down the rest
100%.
of the season. And you gotta be honest, goaltending a lot better than it was last year. Though Mackenzie Blackwood's hurt with a sprained MCL, I think Vitek Vanacek's the real deal right now for the New Jersey Devils because he's playing well.
I wanted to bring up goaltending because when we talked about it on the free agency show, and Washington brought in Darcy Kemper, who to his credit, hasn't been getting the goal support. He's posting a 2.4 goals against, which if you're doing that a lot of times in today's NHL, you should be above 500 as a goalie. He's not, because for some reason, if Ovechkin doesn't score, Washington can't put the puck in the net anymore. And it's kind of pathetic to watch them play right now. That notwithstanding, when they let Vitek and Ilya go, I knew from the start that they made a stupid decision. Granted, I had much higher hopes for Samsonov because he's a player I fell in love with and I just am rooting for. He's had a little slow start in Toronto. He looked really, really good and started to come into his own. and then he got hurt, which really sucks. Vanacek, oh my God. Watching him play, and I'm going, yeah, Toronto or Washington, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing,
What
man?
did you do?
Well, I mean, I've been on the train. Look, nothing against Darcy Kemper. He's a good goalie. There's nothing. I have nothing against the guy. The defense in front of him in Colorado was way better than it is
You
in.
talked about it every week during the playoffs last year, yeah.
Like, the defense in front of him is way better than it is in Washington. Good. I said good luck with that defense in Washington on an aging team that relies on one guy to score. Now, granted, they have a lot of injuries. Washington does, but we've always talked about it. When is the year for Washington to step back? When is the year for Pittsburgh going to step back? When is the year Boston's going to step back? Probably not this year, but for Boston anyway. But for a team like New Jersey, they got to take advantage of teams that are struggling right now. You see that with Seattle, but New Jersey knew that it was close, even in those games that they lost. And fans are fans, and that's, you know what, fire Lindy, great. I do believe the guys that they have on the staff, like the Andrew Burnett's, the Sergei Brelins, the guys in the room, the veteran leadership that they brought in that make this team better. Like, look, we know we're down, but we can come back. Like, look at last night against Calgary on Tuesday. Didn't have a great start. They know the first period sucked, but it's always tough first period back from a road trip coming home.
100%.
It's guaranteed you're going to start slow, but it was only 1-0. They didn't let it get to 2-3-0 like in years past. Maybe last year, you know that 3-1 game in Edmonton. We'll get them next time. We'll get them next. Same with Calgary. Could have lost. To me, it goes back to the Washington game that they lost on that Monday when they had that back-to-back with Detroit. Years past, maybe that loss coming off a 3-game winning streak turns into 3 losses. No, what does it turn into? 7-game winning streak. Like, that's what good teams do. They figure out ways to do it. They figure out different ways to win hockey games. And you know what? They're doing the little things right. And when you got Jack maturing, Nico maturing, Jesper Bratt maturing, guys that have developed in the system, you're seeing it now. I mean, Nico Hischier, this is what everybody expected when they drafted him in 2017. But now he's put on man weight. He's developed 50 in the season in the league. Yeah, I expect this from Nico Hischier now.
Yeah, you talked about putting on that man weight. Real quick, New Jersey, it's not because of anything else other than the fact they have 2 Jespers on their team, and I've never seen that in the history of the NHL. The fact that, like, it's just incredible. But yeah, you talked about man weight with Hischier. Like, a lot of people just assume when you are a top pick, top 2, top 3 pick, you are going to come in and be this all world and not have to grow into your body and grow into the game and all that. Sorry, the Ovechkins, Malkins, Crosbys, and McDavids, they don't happen all the time. They just don't.
You could throw Matthews in there too.
Yeah, but Matthews wasn't even like, he didn't need to build his body. He just had the hands. It didn't matter his size. His hands were otherworldly. But then you got the guys like Rasmus Dahlin gets drafted, and 3 years into his career, you have the morons here calling him a bust and saying he needed to be traded, and maybe they should have taken Brady Tkachuk instead. Piss off.
All he did this year was open the season with 5 straight goals. 5 games with breaks
a record. He's second in the NHL in scoring. He looks like an elite number 1 defenseman now. He grew into his body. He got that man size. Another player who I think that, like, you brought up Nico, but Jack Hughes is another guy on New Jersey that kind of that same thing. He's grown into that body, albeit a bit quicker than Hischier. But just watching him grow and figure out what he can do on the ice for this team has been another thing, before we move on away from the Devils, has been another thing that it's been impressive to see.
Oh, 100%. Jack's put on weight. Yes, but the good players always find something to work on in the offseason. They just don't settle that, oh, hey, I'm good. The Devils have always been a hardworking team, regardless of the skill that they have on their team. This team, guys have found roles on the team. They got the BMW line in the 4th. They have the energy line. They got a checking line. Everybody's found their role, but they're maturing at the same rate. and they're bringing in the right guys in for the long haul. No rentals. They want guys to fit the system and develop. Gee, you know, a lot of it. As Craig Button said, and we brought up Seattle. If in a year or two they want to trade Shane Wright because he hasn't developed, well, he hasn't played and he didn't play for 18 months, so no shit, he didn't develop. Sorry, but I mean, come on.
Yeah, right. Though Shane Wright, man, that to me, that's the type of stuff that continues to make Seattle a gong show.
Yeah.
Is that handling of that. But it's also a fact of the archaic, stupid rules where you can't put a player in the AHL where he's way too damn good for the CHL. Put him let him go to the AHL. Like, don't you want these players to actually play and get better? Like, it's a stupid thing. Again, another topic we could talk about for an hour.
Yeah.
We're going to move from the teams that have been doing well to the teams that have been not doing well. And there's a couple that really stand out. The two absolute biggest, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the St. Louis Blues, to me, are the two biggest. Pittsburgh has fallen off after 4-0-1. They've lost 6 straight. St. Louis is a dumpster fire, losers of 8 straight. And don't even look like the same team they've been. They don't even look like they're trying or give a damn. They're getting just outclassed every which way. Like, they could play against Arizona and lose 7 straight to them. And I don't. What before we get into what's going on? What's the other team that's on your mind?
I would say Pittsburgh, definitely gong show. St. Louis, and I gotta throw Ottawa in there as well. I mean, maybe a lot of people felt that this would be the Ottawa Senators that we expected, but the way they started and now the decline that we've seen, I felt like Ottawa should have taken a step forward this year and not have these same issues come up. Though defensively, Ottawa's not improved, even though offensively they have. Again, Cam Talbot adjusting to a new team, Edmonton adjusting to a new team. To me, Calgary, is right now disappointing. Losers of 6 straight. They can't seem to play defense either. But as you mentioned, Pittsburgh and St. Louis, to me, the biggest thing that stands out to Pittsburgh, I sound like a broken record on this, and I think people are taking my stuff when I listen to the radio because I said in the playoffs that they lost. You cannot blow multiple goal leads in the playoffs and expect to win. You're up against the Rangers in Game 5, Game 6, and Game 7, and you lose. That's carried over into this season. Boston and Buffalo. Those are the 2 games to me in this losing streak that have stood out to me. You got to close out games. Granted, Tristan Jarry, yeah, and Casey DeSmith, okay, you can throw the goaltending in and say it hasn't been great, but the defense in front of them hasn't been great. When you have a guy like Sidney Crosby's on the ice who can close out games himself because he's a good defensive forward, there's something going on here. The Penguins are a mediocre team with one good line.
Yeah, though every time I see the Penguins get bad, I'm just like, don't make a coaching change in the middle of the season, because the last 2 times they did that, they won the cup that year.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't keep Sullivan on the bench until the offseason, please. But yeah, like, Ottawa is a team where I didn't think anything of it. Like, I'm just like, what have they proven to, other than signed a bunch of guys, that they were going to make that next step? Like, they just, throwing money doesn't mean you're going to make that next step to me. And so Ottawa I never really bought into, so I don't really consider them kind of like Columbus is a team
it's not major.
They're a team too, though. They bring in Gaudreau. I expected that line to go ham, but I also expected that to be a 1-line team, because what else do they got?
They don't really have much.
So Pittsburgh is where I'm like, okay, is this the time where it finally ends? Someone from Quebec must be listening to this show, because that's where I'm getting a call from.
Oh, nice. All right. All right.
They're like, why aren't you talking about Montreal? Because they still suck.
But they're fun. But they're fun to watch.
Yes. Yeah, true. But I don't watch them because I just don't watch them.
Well, the only time you watched them was when they played Buffalo.
Or Toronto. Usually, if they're on Hockey Night in Canada, because that's the benefit of living so close to Canada. You get Hockey Night in Canada.
That's true. I mean, I get it down here too. Thank you, streaming. But
Well, yeah, I don't need streaming for it.
Yeah,
That's my thing.
but the Blues to me, like you said, yeah, like you said, the Blues just look like they're just out to lunch. Like they can't score, like they can't. They're giving up goals. Like the system that I feel like they've given up. You know, yes, they have injuries. Marco Scandela's hurt, but what made them so good is they played physical and they played good defense, and they gave that up to go try to score a lot of goals, and it just doesn't seem to be working.
No, and the thing is, like, you had a team with a historically bad start in Vancouver, and they don't even look at as bad, like in the grand scheme of the whole season so far. They don't look as bad as teams like St. Louis, like Columbus, like in Ottawa, like a Pittsburgh, or even at some level like a team like Minnesota. We all, like, in my mind, I expected to be near the top of the Central.
Yeah,
Instead, you got Winnipeg without their head coach most of the year, because who I don't think he should have been head coach to begin with. But health issues like have taken him out with his bout of COVID. But you got Winnipeg playing like maybe Maurice was the problem. That message fell on deaf ears. Like, this is a Winnipeg team that likes being around each other. A lot of things go into players that are good that like being around each other.
yeah,
Because you can
100%.
have players that are really good that don't like being around each other, i.e., the Buffalo Sabres with Ryan O'Reilly and Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
Two really great players, an MVP level player and a Conn Smythe winner, did not like being around each other. It's clear as day. Everybody knows. And things fell apart. But you can have teams that are less talented that like being around each other, that know how to play with each other, and you get the Winnipeg Jets.
I mean, look, Winnipeg Jets. I mean, look, they're playing well, but let's be realistic here. Connor Hellebuck's playing all world right now. I mean, he's got back to his Vezina Trophy level,
which we kind of expected
game.
because he is one of the best.
I mean, but kudos to what the Jets are doing. You know, he stripped Blake Wheeler of the captaincy. You're not sure what's going on there, but they're playing better defense, getting goals. Mark Scheifele stepping up. Kyle Connor's there still. You know, they're just a hardworking team that, you know, sitting in first place in the Central, and it's nice to see that the Jets are doing better than what the pundits said they would, because it's always nice to see the Winnipeg Jets and in the playoff race. You know, they're taking advantage of a bad Nashville team who I think left their game over in Europe somewhere.
I mean, yeah, even Seattle last night. Seattle had a 4-0 lead in Nashville after the first period.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what happened to UC Soros? Can we put want a poster out for his game because it's not there? But with Nashville, did we expect Ryan O'Reilly, Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene, and Roman Josi to have career seasons again?
No. If you did, then you're a Nashville fan.
Yeah, because there was no way those guys were going to be up to that pace. I mean, granted, Philip Forsberg continues to be Philip Forsberg, and so I mean that's a good thing.
Tacos.
That's it, Taco Tuesday, baby, guaranteed. But it's nice to see the Jets play well. Dallas is playing well. So, again, the Central kind of me right now is kind of wide open. And there's Colorado, who hasn't played since the weekend, finding their game over in Finland. Let's see what they do. And see if the champs can look like champs again.
Yeah, and yeah, like the Central, yeah. Dallas, Joe Pavelski continues to prove everyone.
Baby.
He continues to prove everyone outside of Dallas to be idiots, because no one, I think, when they signed him, thought he was going to be as productive as he has been this long into his tenure there. And he's just going like, yeah, I'm still good.
Yeah.
I like to see it. Joe is a player I loved when it was Jumbo and Baby Joe, when he was Baby Joe in San Jose. Like, it was nice to see, and seeing him produce. But yeah, Winnipeg, like, you have that whole thing, and it's a team where you could have been like, all right, PLD, you're probably not getting a long-term extension. Like, everything pointed to he's not going to sign a long-term deal. He's going to get to a bridge deal so he can become a UFA. And that could have been a distraction to the team. It's not. He's playing at near point per game pace. Josh Morrissey is playing like a number one guy. He leads the team in points. He's at a point per game, and no one. If you thought Josh Morrissey was going to be a point per game defenseman, you're a liar.
Yeah, you really are.
Because I think he's a great defenseman. I don't think he ends the season as a point per game defenseman, but he's a big reason his production. He has been finding players perfect. Like he's got 1 goal, 11 assists, 12 points, 12 games. But those assists, like even if they're secondary assists, like I like to hone in on certain players when I watch, and watching how he maneuvers the puck. It's just he finds the open guy no matter what, even if it's secondary assist. His pass to set something up always sets up a play, even if it
Great,
doesn't result in a goal. He just knows how to find someone.
great
And
vision, great vision by Morrissey. I love the game that he brings there. I think their defense is playing well. I think definitely something. Again, maybe change of styles. Rick Bonus, we saw that defensive style in Dallas. Maybe he realized he got to open it up more because you can't win always close games because it starts to wear on the body come towards the end. And down in Dallas, I mean, look, you talk about Joe Pavelski, Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, Mason Marchment's there. That's taking that pressure off of Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn to go out and just be role players now, and that's a good thing because when they're in the spotlight and they have to be the ones to produce, they don't do it, and then the ownership or the GM comes out and gives them a kick in the pants, and now they can just be secondary role players.
yep, exactly. All right, we're gonna move on
Mm-hmm.
from the fun stuff to a talk we need to have,
Yeah.
and this Mitch Miller story. Like from the moment they signed him, everybody immediately dropped their jaws and went, "What?" Because everybody knew. And then you get everything where Boston comes out, Cam Neely comes out with a statement. If you don't know what happened, if you're watching this show, you probably do know what happened. Mitchell Miller, a long time history of bullying a former black classmate.
Wasn't he multiple disabled too?
Yes, Isaiah Meyer Crothers. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing his name right. And he came out with a statement today about it, and we'll touch on that too. But a long history of it. He gets signed by Boston, immediately backlash. The NHL won't let him play. The AHL won't let him play. The league goes, we don't know if we'll ever let him play. Right by the league on that one.
However, wrong by the league to let it be registered if they didn't want him to play.
100%. Because chances are with this contract, he's still going to make money.
He has to be paid because it's filed to the NHL.
Yeah, so
the NHL registry's got it.
Yeah, because what was it? As of yesterday, the contract still hasn't been terminated in any way, so he's still getting paid. So they could do a couple things, like they can let it play out and he sits out, and then they buy him out at a third of the value, but he's still making money on this, which is the disgusting part of it. But Cam Neely comes out after with a statement and says, in light of new information, there was no new information. That is where I had my aneurysm. In light of new information, nothing is new. There's not a single drip of new information with this clown.
The only thing that was new was the court of public opinion, and it wasn't going in the Boston Bruins' favor.
No, exactly. In light of new information of everybody telling us we suck, we decided to rescind the contract. That's what you should have said, Neely. And then you have his ownership or his management coming out and trying to defend, talk about, oh, they're friends now. And then Isaiah comes out with a statement today. He releases a statement through the Hockey Diversity of Alliance, Akeem Alou, and he chronicled everything that he went through from the time he was in first grade to being called the N-word, to being called, quote, brownie, because he was one of the few African Americans in the class. He was one of the few black kids in his class, in his school. His quote, his N-word, he had to be referred to as Miller's. And then it just goes on and on, throwing food at him, punching him in the head on the bus for years. And then he gets a random call asking for forgiveness and things like that and apologizing, which it all sounds like once the contract, that was like a contingency thing on the contract. Hey, reach out. Like Boston knew.
Yeah, Boston. I mean, Arizona knew when they drafted him.
Yeah.
I mean it's just disgusting. I mean, the backlash there, it's ugly to see because, look, again, a lot of differing opinions on this. You see everything going out there. Look, there was a lot of institutional failures across the board when it comes to this kind of thing because the league let it be filed. Boston signed him. Granted, he's lighting up the USHL, but it doesn't mean anything. Um, you know, they have to figure this out. It just looked bad when Boston, especially a team like Boston, that locker room. Patrice Bergeron, Chara, the culture they built there. Foligno coming out, all those guys coming out against what happened. Good on them for sticking up for what's right, what the symbol means, and everything. But to me, the biggest issue is we talked about this off air. To me, the biggest issue is on this is we're picking and choosing what we want to talk about.
Yep.
To me, where was all the media and the hockey media when calling out the NHL and Adidas before Adidas dropped Kanye West for his anti-Semitic comments? Like, I mean, we can't pick and choose what we believe hockey is for everyone. If hockey is for everyone, let's defend everybody. Let's just not pick and choose because we know a lot of there's definitely probably guys in the league that are of Jewish faith. They want to be protected as well. So let's do right by all the players, not just pick and choose what topics we feel is right.
Yeah, exactly. And this comes to the problem of this is a league and a sport still entrenched in their dude bro culture that needs to die and no longer, like we talked about it with Chicago. We've talked about it with just the amount of times we have to have this conversation. And the pick and choose, it's a real problem. And that's just not a hockey thing. That's with everything. People seem to pick and choose what to really get mad about in life when no, it's all stupid. It's all bullshit. It's all wrong.
I mean, we're all about having fun. Like we love when you teammates bond, like the bonding experience, the road. You play pranks on everybody, like that stuff is cool. But if it crosses a line, then it just becomes stupid. Like you don't want it to get to the point where it's affecting others, in a bad way. It's all well if it's just for fun, but the problem is it's getting taken to a level that's not fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gets exhausting. I know, Mike. It's exhausting, buddy.
I know. We haven't even done this show in a month, and I'm exhausted.
Don't lose it. Yeah, it's only night one, bud. Let's you can.
I'm just sick and tired of every time because this league, admittedly, the NHL makes it really goddamn hard to want to keep watching and following and covering. Like we follow this league and this sport because we love hockey. We love the game. We love the play. But man, do they constantly shoot themselves in the foot and make terrible decision after terrible decision. And there are a lot of people saying, well, in this instance, he was 14. He was a kid. He makes, if it was a one-off instance, it happened once, apologized, made amends, fine. One-off instance of a 14-year-old kid. It wasn't a one-off instance. It was days, months, years, repeated torture of this kid with nothing done about it. It's not a one-off instance of a kid that made a mistake. It was a multi-year occurrence of, at the end of the day, a racist. Like, he was being a racist bully.
Yeah, he was definitely being a bully, towards multiple disabled person, African American. Not cool in my book. Certain things, a lot of stuff we did back in the day probably could be classified as bullying, but again, we did it to a point to have fun. But, we have a good piece of hockey news, though. I mean, our girl Lane, she had mentioned Mike Haviland. She spoke with him with the Chicago incident you brought up. She got to do a little interview with him, and, good things come out of it. He really didn't know too much. It's a good thing. Great interview up on Full Press Hockey.
Yep.
I helped her with the questions. We went through everything. great research, great interview, and she did a heck of a job to get a response from a guy we haven't really heard from in regards to what happened in 2010. So, I just want to give props to her on that.
Yeah, she has done. Elaine has done great work. You can find her on Twitter at I'm a Rain Dancer, which is such a great handle. She
Absolutely.
leads. She's an editor for our AHL coverage. She is just. I've known her. I've worked with her since 2015 when I was managing editor at the Hockey Writers and the NWHL started, and I was looking for someone to lead the coverage of it. And I talked to her about it. I had her come up to Buffalo for the very first game between Buffalo and Boston, and immediately I knew I picked the right person. Immediately. She has been tremendous day in and day out in everything she's done. She is a great person. Yeah, and that's the thing. We have these great people like Elaine who cover this sport, and they're not afraid to cover the shit that needs to be covered.
Right.
But man, are we tired of covering this stuff?
Yeah.
From Montreal drafting Malou to this. I'm just all in it within a year.
Till something changes, it goes to, it could go to Colin Campbell, it goes down the line. Everybody, like I said before, it's an institutional failure to let the same stuff continue to happen. Again, the PA needs to step up better to protect the players, especially the ones that, aren't playing or in the league or what happened. But let's start doing better due diligence to make sure the players that we're drafting, look, we all know, with the NFL draft and certain things come up randomly out of nowhere. Let's just make sure when we do the vetting process, we get outstanding individuals to play the game because, the game is in such a good place. We don't want to keep talking about that other stuff because the product on the ice has been really good.
Yeah, it's been really. I'm just so tired of it. Just so tired of it. But it's a conversation that we'll continue to have until it gets better, and it needs to be brought up. And the NHL has to figure it out, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this show up on a good note.
Positivity here on a Wednesday.
We have a positivity sandwich. We talk about some fun stuff. We talk about what needs to be talked about, and then we wrap it up on some fun stuff. Who's one player that you have enjoyed watching or who surprised you? Who has surprised you? I think that's a better question. That has stood on their head and surprised you the most this season? Because I got one that I don't know if you'd expect me to say. Or maybe you would based on past, but I don't know.
I got one for you. He's out in LA. There's not a lot of talk about this guy, but there's going to be a lot of talk. Gabriel Velarde, 10 goals on the season already with the LA Kings, leading the way for this team. He's been playing well. You look at the sheet every night. He's somehow involved in the offense. Love what this kid brings. That's one kid that stood out to me this season, one player.
For me, it is 100% Carter Hart.
Yeah.
My God, he is playing like a legitimate number one goalie, and none of it looks fluky to me. Like Steve Mason in 2008. I know I'm dating myself. I'm going back 14 damn years.
Yeah, but still, I mean, who thought Steve Mason was going to do what he did that year?
No one. But it all seemed fluky. Carter Hart doesn't look fluky. He looks like he's finally comfortable, grown into his zone. He's under a 2 goals against. He's almost at a 9.5 save percentage. I mean, he's 6-0 on the year. 6-0-2 on the year. He has been the reason the Flyers have had a solid start. Because I still think they are a train wreck of a team everywhere else. But Carter Hart has looked like a number one goalie finally after years of hoping a couple years of hoping to become one. And it's been so impressive to see. And man, I wish he was with a better. He's kind of like how John Gibson, I wish, was on a better team.
You know what? Maybe by year's end, John Gibson will be on a better team.
Yeah, I feel like the window's passing on Gibson, though.
Yeah, but you know what? With Carter Hart and the Flyers, he's going to have to stop like 40 shots a night for them to win or something.
Yeah, but right now he's doing it, so good on him.
Yeah, good on him. Great bounce back here for Carter Hart. Like you said, again, maybe the defense, the structure in front of him, he's allowing to be able to play his game. Remember last year, maybe he was trying to do too much to compensate for the bad defense in front of him. Now, he's able to play with the structure in front of him, so...
Yeah, he has made an average of 35 saves a night. brutal.
Brutal.
But he's only given up 16 goals on the year.
That's
He
crazy.
gives up it's incredible what
Go
he's been
back
able
to
to
that
do.
game against the Rangers. Him, Shesterkin, that 1-0 overtime loss. I mean, those guys are making great saves after great saves after great saves.
Those are the types of games I like. I'm not a fan of 1-0 games, but I like 1-0 games where it's because the goaltender stood in their
Well,
head.
I mean,
Because
I think I'll date myself here, but I think you'll remember this game when Brodeur and Hasek did that, man. They split
yeah,
the puck because of the shutout, because back in the day you had ties. So they both had a shutout. It was 0-0. I mean, I was at that game. That was so great.
there was a game, and sticking with Buffalo, there was a game between the Flames and Sabres a few years, not like years ago, where Miller and Kiprusoff
Oh,
had they faced each 30 something shots, and the game ended 1-0. It went to overtime, like it ended a 1-0 shootout, and it was just incredible. You're watching cross crease 2-on-1 glove saves, and you're just like, I could watch this all day.
especially when the level of goaltending is that good. Like it's a 1-0 game and it's just a slow game. No, I mean the Rangers and Flyers were getting great
Yep.
opportunities, and that's the kind of 1-0 game and games I like to watch with the goaltending is that good.
Yeah, it's been absolutely impressive. And you know what else is impressive? The fact that we managed to come back, and I feel we're back and we're better than ever. And we will be here every Wednesday now moving forward, provided no one dies, at 6 p.m. Eastern here on Full Press Coverage, at Full Press NHL on Twitter and Facebook, Full Press Coverage on YouTube and Twitch. You can follow Jim at Jim Behringer. You can follow me at Mike Straw Media. Jim, what do you got coming up? Anything coming up on Full Press Coverage that you want the people to know about?
Check it out. NHL Insights just dropped today. Just doing my little weekly thing, looking at some teams that are hot, not from the past week. The way too early power rankings came out weeks ago. We're gonna go tomorrow. First official power rankings I put together for Full Press Hockey. So check that out. That'll be out tomorrow as well. We're just having some fun doing things here at Full Press Hockey. A lot of things going on. Probably drop a Devils article as well. But just so many things going on. So we're just like everywhere now, and it's good to see.
Also, make sure you check out fullpressbets.com and at fullpressbets on Twitter, because I like to tell people how to lose their money.
Yeah, you're doing a really good job of it.
I've been in a rough stretch. I was in a rough stretch. There was one where I was like 1-1 for my last like 7. Prior to that, I was 8 for my last 8, and then I went in a 1-7 stretch. I'm like, it's annoying how it goes, but that's how it goes.
It really is, absolutely.
Until next week, everyone, take care.